she's gonna pop back up in something at some point, like
Andrew,
a comic or something, and I'm gonna be furious.
Andrew, do you like Sid? No.
No.
You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of our Andor recaps here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. It is the full crew back here once again to talk about the last 3 episodes of Andor Season 2 and the last 3 episodes of the series as a whole. I can't believe it. Andrew, Conor, and Donovan back here once again. And we're a little bit late. We're about a week out from these episodes airing, but it has given us more time to think about the episodes and in some cases go into Rogue One directly after the episodes. And we are here to finally talk about the end of Andor. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, like. Yeah, I'm kind of the vibes. Yeah, it's definitely as you can see from my hashtag for anyone who's watching the video footage of this. It's Andover, and there's a lot of the kind of mixed emotions about it. On the one hand, really good finale. Definitely among the story arcs, it's the one I've had to mull over the most, think about the most. But the more and this is a good compliment, the more I have thought about these episodes, the more I've liked them, and the more I've liked how they have reframed a lot of the earlier seasons, not just season 2, but season 1 as well. There's like stuff that goes all the way back to the first 3 episodes that's just really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot to think about. And this was the first episode of the first arc of the season where I went back and I rewatched one of the episodes before we recorded our recap, because I went back and I watched the final episode and then went directly into Rogue One a few days ago, and that was great. And I will talk about that later of how that movie has been enhanced by the series, very similar to what we say about the Clone Wars with the prequels. And I definitely want to discuss that because I think that was a big point that Tony Gilroy was making while creating this series, and I think it works really well as a companion watch, and like the true series finale of this show in many ways is Rogue One, which might have been what Tony Gilroy intended the entire time, but we'll talk about that later. First, though, I do want to mention that it's probably dropping after this. I think I made the executive decision, but earlier in the week, we did record our Tales of the Underworld episode. Conor, myself, and our special guest, Katrina Dennis, did record our episodes on the Cad Bane and the Saz Ventress episodes of Tales of the Underworld. You can check that out probably shortly after these episodes drop. I will get that edited and uploaded for you guys. We'll split it in 2 episodes like we've done with Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire. And I would definitely recommend that because anytime we have Katrina on to talk about Ventress, it is a absolute treat. But before we get into Andor, we of course have to do one of our favorite segments here on the show. I'm of course talking about the Jedi Archives.
Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
Those that are new here, this is essentially our podcast Hall of Fame. What we do is we nominate something Star Wars adjacent. In someone's case, very adjacent this week, but we must continue. And we put it up to a viewer poll to decide who goes into the archives every single week. Shortly after the episode drops, we will normally put out a poll on Twitter and have you all decide what goes in each week. And this was another win for our boy Donovan because I got killed. K2SO is the newest inductee into the Jedi Archives. I'm sorry, Finn. I let you down, but you can't beat the power of K2 during Andor season.
I mean, this is the K2 week, isn't it? So like, it figures that K2 would like.
If only we recorded that like a day after we put it up, because the day after the Last Order cover dropped, so I might have had a better chance. But
for anyone watching, yes, the streak has continued. The my brother has handed me another tea, and my image is frozen. So now, now
it's
we
just
have
stuck.
We gotta clip it.
Yeah.
Since K2 has won, I'm gonna put my nomination forward first, and since Conor's been kind of like the last couple of weeks has been kind of going a little bit more outside the box in terms of like what's eligible for the archives, I thought I'd try a little something similar as well. Andrew, I believe I have sent you video footage of my pick for this week's edition of the archives. If you'd like to take it away.
All right. I don't know what this is, but I will
explain.
All right, what have I just watched?
Okay, that was Dugadoo. that is basically a side character that appeared in the.
So that's what Christina's been referencing.
So that was a character that appeared in the latest episode of Doctor Who. As of time of recording, we're recording this so yeah, this is technically sort of a Who Watch, but we've got Who Watch for later. Don't worry. No. But yeah, this character appeared in the latest episode of Doctor Who. It's called the Interstellar Song Contest. It's basically a riff on the Eurovision Song Contest that we have in Europe. That just recently, the episode dropped the same day as Eurovision, which was kind of cool. And this character has basically just exploded in terms of popularity. It's just like references everywhere. The Doctor Who YouTube channel has this thing going around, a 24-hour live stream. I shit you not. And I just thought, given that Varada Sethu is currently the companion in Doctor Who, we've got an Andor cast member in Doctor Who, and this is kind of the Doctor Who equivalent of a glup shito. I just thought I've got to put this in. I have to expose you both to the majesty of Dugadoo.
I am floored. It is in fact Star Wars adjacent, so I will give you that. Honestly, I thought I was going to have a layup this week, but maybe not. Maybe not. Conor, shall we continue the campaign, sir?
Obviously. Because also, I found out that the 3-game series was against the Astros last year. And in that specific clip with the Star Wars title crawl, in that game, there was a walk-off. The Phillies walked it off against the Astros. You know who hit the walk-off RBI?
Phillies legend Bryce Harper.
Phillies legend Bryce Harper, baby. So yeah, that's my
of course
my nominee.
The campaign continues. It's going to happen this week, gentlemen. It's not going to be. It's going to happen in some week. It's not going to be this week because Kleya is my nomination for the archive this week because of course she is.
Oh, we're done. We're both done.
Of course.
Also, for those not aware, I am reactivating Twitter just for this campaign.
Yes.
I will probably
the only reason to use Twitter.
What's up?
I said it's the only reason to use Twitter.
Yeah, honestly, I'm probably going to reactivate it after we're done recording.
You're going back into the system like Dedra is going back into the Narkina prison system.
No. But yeah, no, these were... If these episodes were anyone's episodes besides Cassian, it was Kleya's moment to shine. I also just want to shout out that Elizabeth Delau, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. This was her first major acting credit. She literally graduated from drama school, went right into Andor, and was one of the breakout characters of season 2. But it's been great to see this character grow in importance throughout the season, throughout the series, I should say, and have it to where she is such an integral part of this finale, and like a lot of people are just like, you know what is this character doing now? Like I want to see more of Kleya. I want to see her greater role in the rebellion, and I feel like we're going to get that at some point, whether it's a show or just in a different form. I'm not sure, but she's been, I would say, the breakout character of this season, and she's, of course, my pick for the archives this week. So if Don can play the K2SO game with me last week, then I can play a counter with Kleya this week. So those are your nominations this week in a unexpectedly stacked edition of the archives. We have Dug-a-Doo from Doctor Who. We have Philly's legend Bryce Harper, of course, and we have Kleya Markey. So go ahead and head over to our social media at For the Repub Pod on Twitter. We will have a poll up shortly after this episode drops, and then you all can decide what goes into the archives this week. Now let's
should have nominated Tony
I have
Gilroy.
a feeling I know who's going to win, and it's not going to
Me
be
too.
Bryce Harper, but I'm still going to campaign heavily for Philly's legend Bryce Harper.
It's going to be Dug-a-Doo.
I'm gonna campaign for Dug-a-Doo.
It might. I feel like it's going to happen.
To get all the Doctor Who fans to come over here and vote en masse for Dug-a-Doo. Andrew, if you had picked Tony Gilroy's cameo voiceover rebel guy, then it would have been the most obscure edition of the archives.
That's another one for the future, because he's shown up twice now. Is just guy that yells at Cassian when he's trying to leave Yavin 4. It's a great recurring role.
I've been counting the amount of orders we've disobeyed so far. Would you like to know how many? No,
how many?
17.
17. But these episodes, who are Make It Stop, Who Else Knows, and Jedha, Kyber, Urso. I was kind of surprised that we started off the final arc of episodes of Andor without an appearance from the man of the hour himself. This first episode was essentially just an all Luthen and Kleya episode. And it was so good.
What I found just fascinating is the fact that, like, everyone talks about, without this person, the Death Star doesn't get destroyed. Well, we find out that without Lonni Jung, we don't find this out. Like, and I think what's so fascinating to me is that, like, I knew they were going to answer those questions of, like, how does the Alliance know? Well, not the Alliance, but, like, how does this rebel cell find out generally about this whole, like, super weapon business? And it's like Lonni Jung just tells Luthen, it's like, hey, there's this big fucking secret that I need to be in a safe house for.
Yeah.
So
get me off Coruscant.
Yeah, get me off Coruscant. And it is wild.
It's like the whole sequence as well, like both that and the opening with the Time Grappler bell announcing 1 BBY. There's a real sense of like dread, a special kind of dread of like, oh, we're here, we're getting to we're right on the cusp of Rogue One, and just hearing the Death Star even being like talked about more openly, it's like, oh, like
we were wondering last episode, like, because we were like, what are they going to do in this last arc? And, like, obviously we knew there was going to be connections to Rogue One because of how Gilroy has said repeatedly, hey, this is how the show is going to end. He's going to go to Kafrene, and that's the end of the series. I for some reason, didn't think it was going to be, like, this close. Like, we are literally getting the information of how the Rebels found out about the Death Star in these episodes, and the whole duration of this arc is essentially get Kleya off Coruscant and get back to Yavin, get back to the base, and we get to see the aftermath of that. But yeah, no, Lonni is essentially like the unsung hero of the Rebels getting the Death Star plans, because without that information, they might never know. And this scene was just because we've known so much about the lengths Luthen will go to keep his Rebel sect safe and to make sure that his identity isn't revealed. And just knowing that we've followed Lonni a lot more this season, to have that moment where he shares with Luthen, he's like, you need to promise that I'm safe. And he tells him that. And we see him bring up, oh, we need to wait, my family needs to get off Coruscant with me, my wife and my kid. And then the next we see is that shot of him just on the park bench, and the Lothcat walks up to him, and you just see him with the blaster wound, and he's just laying there.
It's so messed up. It's so messed up that like the one appearance of like a Tuca cat of like, or like a Lothcat showing up is like this really dark image of like Lonni just like slumped on the bench like that. And I was like, I knew I had a bad feeling the minute Luthen just says, we're in this together. I was like, you're really not, Luthen. You're really not. And then like when he was just the sustained shot of like the faraway shot of like the owner and the Tuca cat, which is called Pix, funnily enough, like just going there. A great CGI, by the way. I think that's like, I think it's one of the best looks, I think, for a Tuca cat or a Lothcat that we've seen, minus the puppet version in Ahsoka. But yeah, that whole scene with Lonni, it was so sad because Lonni turned out to be an MVP, and it's kind of speaks to the moral ambiguity of Andor that like I can get why Luthen killed him. I understand like the kind of thought process Luthen had in his head that there was no way they were both going to get off Coruscant, and Lonni was the likelier of the two of them to squeal to the ISB if he gets like caught and tortured. So it sort of makes sense, but it's also so ruthless and so very Luthen at the end of the day. It demonstrates why Luthen is like both necessary for the rebellion's like survival, but also like very much the kind of like sort of like the something they need to move away from, essentially, as we see in this arc.
Yeah, there's also the fact that, and I know we're going to get into this, but I figured I'd just bring it up now. There's also the fact that Lonni Jung not only tells the rebellion about the super weapon, but he also, I don't know if it was like intentional or indirectly, frames Dedra Meero.
Yeah, he does. It's so wild that like this one act, he gives the rebels this head start on finding out about the Death Star, and essentially dooms Dedra by the end of this, aside from like the critical mistakes she'll make. But one thing I want to add on, like with that whole scene, is I kind of, knowing Lonnie's fate now, it really reframes those earlier meetings with Luthen, like where they're meeting on like the catwalk and stuff, because there's kind of a horror vibe with a lot of those, with both of those scenes, like in season 2 and season 1. But it kind of reframes Luthen almost as kind of like an angel of death, almost. Like, and I kind of love the almost mythological allusions that in that scene, because he's traveling down Coruscant in that elevator. It's almost kind of like Lonni is traveling to Hades to like barter with the angel of death, essentially, that Luthen sort of is. I just kind of, I love that kind of the mythological like illusion that it takes on now that we know the trajectory of Lonnie's story.
Yeah. I was just, because we had been wondering, especially last arc, when Luthen was like, I need to stay on Coruscant. We were wondering, like, how would he ever get out if he were to? And the fact that his story ends on Coruscant, that he's never able to get out, that he protects. And I feel like he knew that, even killing Lonni, that this was it for him, that he wasn't going to leave Coruscant. And we see that because we knew that this scene was coming, because it was one of the few scenes left from the trailers that we had not seen yet of Dedra showing up in Luthen's shop. But we see before that the heart-wrenching goodbye between Luthen and Kleya, as Kleya wants to stay, work the radio. It's like, no, you have to go.
I'll do the burn.
And just the symbolism of like knowing the journey we've been through in this show, seeing Luthen destroy that rebel radio and the keyboard and stuff. It's just like, it's like that was one of the moments where I was like, this show is ending, isn't it? Like it like finally hit me that like everything's coming full circle. And then when we see Dedra show up in the entrance of the shop, I was like, oh fuck, shit's gonna go down. And that reveal as Dedra's talking, because they do their Luthen's little act, they're back and forth, and then when she's like, oh, I have a new piece for your collection, and she pulls out the Imperial Starpath unit from the first fucking arc of the series, I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Great way to bring it full circle. And I love Luthen's line there's so much good dialogue in this scene, but I loved Luthen's line to her prior when she's asking, oh, is it all is this all authentic? And Luthen very kind of slyly goes, oh, only 2 items of questionable provenance in this gallery. I see what you're doing there, buddy.
I didn't even catch that, man. That's
I think what's the most fascinating thing to me was that we all knew Luthen was gonna bite it, but I kind of figured that okay, maybe it's Cassian that kills him.
That had been my thought the entire series.
Same. I just figured he would have to be the one to off him.
But nope, he just when he was talking about the Nautilus Bleeder Blade, I was like, all right, yeah, this is pretty heavy-handed foreshadowing. We know something's gonna happen. But my thought was oh, Dedra's gonna maybe Luthen will try to fight her and Dedra grabs it and kills him. And then it gets to that point where he's just kind of his back's facing her. And then it took a couple seconds. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
He just offed himself.
He just he just committed seppuku. It's great use of Chekhov's gun, just showing that thing off. Really cool prop as well, but I love that whole exchange with him and Dedra, the line of her trying to say, oh, you don't want freedom, you want chaos, and that kind of line about how he disgusts her, and then he throws it back at her and he says, oh, the rebellion isn't here anymore, it's flown away. It's everywhere now.
There's a whole galaxy out there waiting to disgust you.
Yes, it's so good. And you have that whole thing of Dedra is so smug in that moment because she thinks she's won. She thinks she's got she's literally says, I've dreamt of this. She's found her quarry that she spent years and she has lost a lot and gone through a lot trying to find this guy. And then literally he just slips through her grasp by doing something she couldn't even comprehend, which is laying down his own life.
Laying down his own life.
Rebellion.
Because this was her critical mistake that did her in, was trying to take Luthen alone. Bringing enforcements, obviously, but not bringing Greater back up with the ISB. Not having Hirt or Partagaz, or literally just going behind their back and doing this. And in that moment, Luthen screws everything up because they're obviously able to get the med pack on him and get him to Lina So Hospital. But remember, there's no Easter eggs in this show.
Okay, what a reference. What a reference. We had a pod racing reference in Andor, and now we've had a High Republic reference. Literally, Lina So Hospital. That's fantastic. I love it.
But this was the beginning of the end for Dedra, because this was her big crash out moment throughout this arc as well. And it just showed, Alex Damon put it great, there's always a bigger fish in the Empire.
Yes.
It just showed, for all the abuse of power and all the backstabbing and doing things to get her way throughout the series, the moment it messes with someone bigger than her in the Empire, they will bring you down a peg as much as they can, and they will screw you over, because that's what the Empire does. But before we get into all the great stuff with the hospital, obviously I just alluded to it now, but one of our first big running jokes with these Andor recaps was in season 1, when we kept saying, I thought there were no Easter eggs in the show, and we brought up the various references and Easter eggs that there were. Remember, this is the show that gave us not 1, but 2 references to the Rakatan Empire. But Tony Gilroy isn't a Star Wars fan. So it's only fitting, as we say farewell to Andor and as we say farewell to Luthen's shop, that I point out the fact that there was a Gungan skull in Tony Gilroy's, not Tony Gilroy, in Luthen's art gallery at this point. So thanks for that. One last little tiny Easter egg before we say goodbye to Luthen.
And Don, apparently.
And Don.
I'm just kidding.
His poor connection, man. When the heartbreak starts, really, is watching Kleya watch Luthen get taken away in that ship was just, oh my God. And then she goes into full Kleya mode because we're like, is she going to break him out? But like, we see the ultimate plan, and this just starts one of the.
Oh yeah, no, I figured she wasn't going to break him out. I'm like, yeah, she's gonna
make sure he doesn't. Make sure the Empire has nothing. Make sure they learn nothing.
Yeah,
and it,
I figured it, and I was like, how are they good? How is she going to do it though?
Oh, she did it though.
It was so fascinating. That whole sequence was fascinating. So I really have nothing else to really add other than that.
It was great Spycroft stuff, like seeing her like that nifty lock picking thing that she uses to get the fatigues and like disguise herself as a nurse. And the main thing I want to add is, Kleya, Tony Gilroy, like the whole Andor team, they basically gave us the Star Wars equivalent of the "sure, Grandma, let's get you to bed" meme with Kleya with the alien like going like in the wheelchair.
But there's no aliens in Andor.
I know. Okay. We're gonna talk about the flashbacks, obviously, but they're the little guy with the like kind of frog's legs that's like sitting cross-legged during that like public execution scene in the flashbacks. I love that the camera lingers on that weird little guy just to kind of go, yeah, no, we've got aliens. You want aliens? Here's a weird little alien. I love it. Beating the allegations there.
Exactly. Man, but interspersed throughout this episode though were some flashbacks of how Luthen and Kleya met and came together. And, for something that was so outwardly a pseudo surrogate father-daughter relationship that we've seen throughout this show, I honestly still was like kind of taken aback that these flashbacks did show that, Kleya was in fact Luthen's adopted daughter. And we got to see him as I think a former Imperial officer at the beginning that walks away from the Empire and saves her because she's stowed away in his ship.
I kind of like that they give us just enough about Luthen's backstory, just keep him vague enough that we can kind of surmise what he was, that he was either a Republic trooper or an Empire like ground forces person who just got so desensitized to the killing, and Kleya basically gave him a reason to break away and fully rebel against the tyranny of the Empire. I really liked the flashbacks. Really worked for me the minute I just kind of realized, oh, this is about Kleya. This isn't about Luthen. This never was about Luthen. It's all about Kleya. Like, these flashbacks are telling us who Kleya is and how Luthen helped mold her, like the anger and the hatred that she felt, not just towards the Empire, but towards him as well, for being part of that and participating in the massacre of her people, basically. Like, I love the interview that Elizabeth Delau did, where she talked about, how her and Luthen's relationship, the Kleya and Luthen's relationship, love grows out of that, but she kind of never stops hating Luthen for that. And you can kind of see the way she plays it. She almost doesn't know how to express kind of like more positive, compassionate emotions a lot of the time, because she's running off so much of that anger and that hatred for the Empire and these oppressive forces. Because, like Luthen says, store it up, bank it basically for when it's needed. And you can see that it fuels her every move, her every thought, really. And it's what makes the later episodes so compelling, despite the intimate scale of everything. It's like, it's really cool. And I've got to say, Naboo. We saw Naboo.
Was not expecting that one. I was like, wait a minute.
That was pretty fucking cool.
Oh, the minute they showed like the castle and like the kind of backdrop, I was like, that's Naboo. That's gotta be Naboo. There's no way it's not Naboo. I also love so much.
Symbolism of, it's my favorite Star Wars planet, so obviously I was very excited. But I love the symbolism of their first real act against the Empire being on the home world of Emperor Palpatine. I thought that was a really cool decision they made there. And just, I got to shout out, I mean, we've talked about Elizabeth Delau this whole episode, but April V. April V. Woods, who played young Kleya in these scenes, definitely deserves mention. She was excellent. From both that just reaction to her watching that young boy get executed by the Empire to just the whole beginning of their father-daughter dynamic. They're like, all right, I'm Luthen now, you're Kleya now. Like, these are our new lives. And it's like, when I tell you to move, you move. And just seeing that paralleled in the present of when she tells her to stay away from the shop because he knows what he needs to do. These were all just really great scenes. And then we got really our Star Wars version of Mission Impossible bled in between with Kleya in the hospital in the present day. It was like literally everything was great. And how she managed to bypass everyone. And then the minute stormtroopers came up to her, just boom. Just
boom. Like just popping them like left and right. And I also, and this is another thing I love. Dedra is there. Dedra is literally like within inches of finding her, and then she gets taken away by the ISB by Hurt for stepping on his toes, basically. And it's such a great moment because it illustrates why the Empire is doomed and why the Rebels will win, because the Rebels have that kind of selflessness. They have that desire to work together for a greater good, whereas the Empire are constantly going after each other, like constantly getting in each other's way. And it's just it's really interesting to, again, Dedra is so close to victory, and it's snatched away because of the way her competitors view her. It's like, oh, it's really good storytelling.
Yep. The fact that she went above just one person's back that she didn't that was bad for her was her undoing. I honestly was not expecting her being arrested on my finale bingo card, but I was like, oh shit. Like, this is going down when it happened. And just seeing the Imperials like in that control room, like slowly put together that, yeah, it's
it wasn't 3 people.
Yeah, it was one person.
I love it. I love that like they assumed it was 3 people. That was great. That was brilliant. It just made her seem even more badass. And again, we've talked a lot about her, like Elizabeth Delaire this episode already, but like the scene where she goes into that room and she finds Luthen and basically turns his life support machine off, and the kind of little kiss on the forehead she gives of him. It's this really interesting thing of like, it's a profound moment for her almost, because like, again, she was expecting this to be easy, and the emotion almost kind of erupts out of her very quickly. This like parting kiss for a man that she has had a really like difficult relationship the whole way through, who's kept her alive, but has also kind of left her somewhat incapable of trusting people in a lot of ways. It was a fascinating dynamic, and it's so sad. And I love the guts they have to like just linger on Luthen. That shot of Luthen's body at the very end to just kind of go, yeah, this is it. He's done.
We see the aftermath of that, of not only how important Luthen was to the rebellion, but like what their reaction to Luthen and Kleya on Yavin is because of that distrust that Luthen sowed into Kleya. The fact that like the rebels are like, oh, this Luthen guy, like, I'm not so sure we can trust anything he says just because of his tactics. And we see there's that great line in the finale where Cassian and Bail are talking. It's like, you and Luthen would have had a lot more in common than you thought. When he's like, if I die, I want to go down swinging against the Empire. And Cassian just
bad luck, Bail.
Really happened, Bail. I'm sorry.
A couple days later, that's when it hit me in my rewatch. I was like, oh my god, yeah, like Bail's really got like a few days left, and then he's getting blown up on Alderaan. Like, it just, a lot of that stuff doesn't hit you until later. It's like, yeah, no, we are getting insanely close to this man and his entire planet just going boom because of this weapon that he wasn't fully sure was real when Cassian brought it to his attention. But like Don said, yeah, the as she's crying, that little kiss goodbye, and then the camera lingering on Luthen, and then it ending with Nicholas Bertel's theme for Luthen. It was just, what an episode this was. And I was surprised that they went this route for like the literal last 3 episodes of the show. It's like, we're going to start things off with the first episode of the series that Diego Luna isn't in. But it worked really well. And then the fact that they seamlessly transitioned that back into Cassian's story in the next episode, when he needs to be the one that breaks Kleya out of Coruscant because of Will's little radio machine that he has. It was just a really good way to reintroduce them. So for the second episode, we talked about Dedra. I think we need to start with maybe a top 5 Andor scene, which is Krennic interrogating Dedra.
Okay.
I have rewatched this so many times.
I said when we did our Andor season 2 trailer like recap, I said I wanted a queen off between Director Krennic and Dedra Meero, and I kind of got it.
We got it, man.
Destroys that woman.
Oh my god, it's so uncomfortable.
Like, we're gonna talk. Like, I might as well just mention it. The finger.
The fact that was improvised is amazing.
I love that Denise Goff is just so impressed with that action decision. She's like, "Oh, he just put his finger like on my head," and I was like, "Brilliant."
The way it's why would I be here in this godforsaken basement? Say the words.
And then she says Death Star. The chills. And hearing the Death Star finally mentioned is just, it's great. And like this is such a great scene for like the two of them, because again, like you said, there's always a bigger fish. This has always been coming for Dedra, where basically she was going to get like torn down several pegs by someone in a much bigger position by her, and Krennic is exactly the kind of person to do that. And it really kind of like flips his scenes in Rogue One on the head, because he is going to have this exact same thing happen to him.
He gets bitched out in that movie, but we see him in the Tarkin role in these episodes.
Exactly.
Like, he's the greater villain of this series. But when Tarkin and Vader are in the picture, he's
the small fry.
Exactly.
He's the small fry, exactly. Like, then I love that the scene, aside from just showing how intimidating Krennic is at this point, it also kind of shows again that the kind of tragedy of Dedra is that she was actually very good at her job, but she was actually kind of hampered by the treatment of the ISB. Like, literally, she points out that Krennic's team had tortured to death a suspect that would have led her to Luthen earlier if she hadn't had to like scavenge. And also, again, this show getting really close to like contemporary politics here, because the minute she mentioned that like several messages were forwarded to her office by mistake, I was like, how did you call that?
So like honestly, like, here's the other thing too. It's like, we gotta remember that this show was these scripts were made in like 2022 or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is just hard, like unfortunate timing.
Yeah.
I guess. Because like, if
they
let's say the election,
in, I think 2023.
Like,
it's crazy.
If the 2024 election goes a different way, let's just say, this is probably just pretty fucking funny to us. Like, this probably wouldn't happen, and now it's like, no, this happened. So
yeah, like I could imagine someone kind of going, that's a bit contrived. There's no way someone would like message something that critical like to someone who's not involved by mistake. Turns out you can kind of do it. Yeah.
But again, the fact that what does her in is the fact that she had those files and never turned them in.
Just on PS2. Sorry, I'm looking at PS2 games right now, and I completely forgot that The Force Unleashed was also on the PS2.
I didn't know that either.
Wild. I didn't know it was on the PS2.
I didn't know it was on the PS2.
All right, obviously we gotta keep talking about Andor, but like, I'm gonna look like it's gotta look terrible graphically. There's no way it looks good.
I mean, the PS3 was like 2-3 years into its lifespan at that point. So yeah, like this was when they were any of the ports to the PS2 were like, this is like the BC team working on this one.
I never got a PS2 mainly because I remember I went to like a video game store which is like called Game over here in the UK, and I remember I was talking to this one of the employees there, and he was asking what did he think was the best console, and he basically said the Xbox, and said, "Oh no, you could chuck that against a wall and it would still work. Don't do that though." Don't do that.
Okay,
but,
the PS2 doesn't look terrible, but compared to like the PS3, it's like night and day. Anyway, Andor.
Yeah.
I have to
Speaking of the Dark Times era.
Oh yeah. I have to immediately add my favorite line from like that whole exchange is like the moment when after Dedra does her big speech of like, yes, I'm a scavenger, but I've had to be. And I love the way Denise Goff's voice is starting to break there, where you know, she's being kind of like exposed. She's almost kind of like she has nowhere to run in that moment. But then like Krennic just kind of like completely lays all the problems bare by going, you know, how does one balance such passionate competency with the mindless decision to confront Luthen Rael on your own?
My favorite part of the entire scene. It is so good. If you aren't a rebel spy, you missed your calling.
You missed your calling. Oh, like, he's such a bastard. He's such a fruity bastard. The bit where he like grabs her head, like when she tries to like help him still, and he just grabs her head and like forces her back into the seat and goes, "We'll try our best to carry on without you." It's so uncomfortable, and it shows just like the tragedy of Dedra's character, that she is basically like Tony Gilroy said in an interview recently that, you know, with Dedra and Cyril, he wanted to illustrate that any form of fascism over the centuries in human history, it's reflected here that they don't just come for the people who they other and target. They will inevitably come for the people that try and prop them up, the people that like operate within their ranks and help them. They will inevitably come for them. They will inevitably eat their young. And, you know, we see this so well with Dedra. Exactly. It's like it's weirdly tragic, and like even in her final scenes, despite the horrible things she's done, I did feel like the tiniest twinge of sympathy for her. Or pity almost. Well, just pity, I suppose. Pity. Sympathy.
I thought I was going to, but I didn't. I was like, no. I was with Krennic there. I'm like, eat her alive. You fucking did that to Gorman. I was ready. And again, this was shocking to me because I and many others were on the Dedra's going to be on the Death Star train for the entirety of the season, especially after Gorman. And not only am I surprised that no character ended up getting that fate, but that she ends up going with the stuck in Narkina. Narkina 2, I believe. And I love that Tony Gilroy was like, yeah, I didn't really know, or we were struggling to figure out how to end Dedra's arc. But, you know, we did have a little bit of this prison set left. So I'm like, all right, there we go. Narkina.
It's perfect. It is absolutely the perfect way to end her story here, because like the Death Star thing would have been fun, but she would have seen that as a promotion of some kind. So we wouldn't really have got the satisfaction of seeing her actually live through a comeuppance. It's more just a thing of like, oh yeah, we know what's going to happen to that. We know she's going to get killed when it explodes. But instead, we actually see her having to deal with the fact that this system that she fought so hard to support and prop up and fought so hard to stamp out rebellion in the name of, has basically just thrown her to the wolves, essentially. And you know, I even love the kind of the thought process that she might even like contribute to the building of the other Death Star, potentially. Which again, you know, I'm only going to mention this briefly, but I think it's so funny that like most of the stories in the new canon have been like how the first Death Star was built, all the materials, all the like processes that like went into constructing it, and there's like a Death Star's just there, you know, like it just got built. Basically,
many Bothans died to bring us this information. That's where it starts and ends, pretty much.
You've had 10 years in the new canon and not a single Bothan. It's mad.
People have been saying, hey, Vel and Kleya can help the Bothans. And I'm like, you know what? If it gets us more of them, I'm okay with it. But this in turn brings us to Hirt and Partagaz working with Krennic. And I just love, again, I got a shout out for the last time Anton Lesser, because Partagaz is truly an S tier character that I just was not expecting him to continuously be one of the best characters on the entire show. It's like, tell them that she's contracted a virus, that she is a public health concern. It was just because his first appearance, he described something, I don't remember what exactly it was, but he described it as a disease, as a sickness.
Like that they're not doctors, but basically they treat disease. That that's like the disease of rebellion. Yep. Exactly, the ISB is like almost like disease control, basically. And so physically, he throws that out there because he's getting exasperated of like because Kleya is loose in the wind and they can't find her. It's such a great little panicked moment that calls back to his first appearance, and I love that the ISB table, the ISB set that was full of agents at the start of the show is whittled down to like a few people because, and Krennic even references it when he says the now inevitable ISB death march. All of these ISB agents have basically been whittled away because, again, the Empire just comes for its own eventually, just to prop itself up. And it's just this seemingly intimidating intelligence force. It's just so interesting to see them in like kind of like their hollow era here, like at the very end of Andor. Just fascinating.
It really is. And then when we see Kleya back on the safe house in Coruscant, she's got that little radio and
the Morse code thing. I love it.
She's going nuts, dude.
Going nuts with it. And thankfully, Will.
Oh god, that shot of her like tapping away on the little space Morse code thing, and it's almost kind of like Breaking Bad-esque, like season 4 Breaking Bad of just like she's only like illuminated in like a singular kind of like frame, and it shows that she's just kind of like boxed in. She's like got nowhere left to go. It's so good. The direction is so good. But yeah, like you were saying about like Willman on Yavin.
Yep,
absolutely.
Here's the thing I love about that is that Willman gets it, and fucking, from what I can remember, Cassian and Melshi and K2 are playing a fucking card game.
Yeah. The best.
It's like space dominoes.
Chilling out.
So good.
And then it's just Willman's like, guys, we got some shit going on. And then obviously the Rebel Alliance is like, the fuck is this? Wait, no. I think they act on it, and the Rebel Alliance is like, "Why the fuck are they what the fuck are they doing with this U-wing or whatever?" And then Cass, and then K2 is like, "You guys disobeyed 18 orders," and Cassian's like, "I don't give a fuck." And then they go to Coruscant,
which is so cool.
And then we have a horror movie. Actually, no, wait, that's in the next episode.
That's in the next episode with K2, yeah.
But
and
we get
speaking
there.
Speaking of K2, how awesome! Our dude is finally back, and it was he may have only been in 2 episodes, but they made every second of him count here.
Yeah, and there's one thing. If there's one thing, at least that was for me, at least fairly evident in this final arc, was that like we got a good amount of time with K2 and Cassian, but like there obviously could have been more.
Yeah,
and like also it's like, dude, I need to see more of Cassian because, like, I'm sure. Because, like, here's the thing: we can all infer pretty friggin' easily, like, why he is the way he is at the beginning of Rogue One with Tivik, and I feel like that's inferred pretty easily when in the last episode, Draven's like, "Do you trust him?" and Cassian's like, "I try." So it's like, all right, there's that little like wiggle room of like, all right, if I have to, I will. But like, obviously we can infer like, okay, it's probably pretty easy to figure out like why Cassian is this way. But like, I want more. I wanted more. Like the format didn't lend itself to.
It's one of the downsides of this going from 5 seasons to 2 is some of this stuff had to be condensed. And I was talking to Jake about this, and we were like, it probably ended up being the best version it could have been with a 2-season format. But like some of this shit, if it was 5 seasons, like you can obviously tell certain things that were left a little underdeveloped, like Vel and the Aldani Rebels. I feel needed a bit more time. Mon's family, I think, needed a bit more time. And only having K2 for this last arc is definitely one of those. I'm just saying though, how long until the Cassian and K2 comic is announced? Because I feel like we're definitely getting a mini series or something.
We've got to get a new Cassian and K2 comic. I want like a novel as well, like just sort of like showing like the missions, the rebel missions that Cassian and Bix actually went on for Luthen. That would be really cool. And what about Cinta as well? Like Absolutely. I'd love to hear about what led Cinta to get injured and take some time away and reassess.
I think one of the benefits or positives to come out of this going from 5 to 2 seasons is the amount of other canon stories we can get is tremendous. And obviously they're not going to be of the same production value and scope that Andor was. I mean, I hope we still get my Bix spinoff that I've been pitching, but like characters like Vel, like Kleya, like Cinta, like you said, I think are tailor-made for books and comics and the like. And I just want to see how these surviving characters that didn't go out in Scarif contribute to the Greater Rebellion and perhaps the New Republic or even the Resistance. There was that garbage theory that someone was pointing out that I need to just one more time for the old time's sake. I need to shit on the Star Wars fandom because I talked to Conor about this. But the one who's the Resistance, the older woman in the Resistance from Rise of Skywalker that they had to cut out the lesbian kiss. There's like, I hope that's Vel and that she changed her name. That was spreading, and I was like, "This is fucking dog shit, man."
Because there can only be one lesbian in the Star Wars
galaxy. There can only be one lesbian in Star Wars at a time. So we're gonna make that Vel.
Some people shouldn't have rights.
Stop with this, please.
Anyway,
it's the equivalent of Cassian's kid is Poe. No, it's not. Stop it.
Really not. Like,
it
come
really
on.
isn't.
I hate that shit. Anyway, they get to the apartment.
Fucking shit faced.
Yeah.
Oh god, playing
for the Revnog.
And I love the line. Can I just say the line that Cassian says? Because you got Cassian, Melchi, and K2 playing space dominoes, and K2 is like, he's trying to droid you.
I love and I really appreciate with how heavy this season has been. And the finale obviously ends with that bit of hope as we get to Rogue One. But I love that we had a moment like hope. Yeah, hope. Well, rebellions are built on hope. Even though we know, hey, this man's essentially walking to his death. But I love that we get this little moment of levity and like a truly like wholesome moment of just Cassian, Melchi, and K2 playing cards. We played 87 games or whatever he said. And then
the odds of you making a move like that are not statistically measurable. It's just
that's definitely the Ragnar talking right now. And I just also love the fact that Melchi and Cassian just go out into Coruscant, just still like drunk as shit to try to rescue Luthen.
Yeah,
like that man should not be behind the wheel of a U-wing right now.
And then they get to the apartment and Clay is going nuts, dude.
Yeah. She's like crashing out. She's like full on paranoia. Like even when she says it would be you, wouldn't it? I almost like thought, wait, do you think he's here to kill you? That's dark, man. But like, I'll just mention about K2, like what I just, again, you said about K2 just being so funny in these episodes. And I there's so many moments that I just love already, like of him saying, I can recite the proper protocol if you're curious. I see. No one is curious. And you've got him in the spaceship as well. And this is the point I'm building towards, where like, I kind of feel like what Tony Gilroy and the Andor team did is they were able to give us all these awesome K2 moments. And at the very same time, they were kind of demonstrating why they couldn't have had K2 in earlier stories of the season. Because basically, he's super conspicuous. He's like this big lumbering Imperial droid. So they can't really do any of the spycraft stuff.
They can't even bring him on the rescue mission at first.
Yeah, like he has to just sit there and like he slumps in the chair, like and stuff. But like the other reason is that, when you've got K2 around, the tension kind of goes out the window. Like, there's not really any question of like, how are they gonna get away from these Imperials? It's like, yeah, K2 is just gonna kill them all. And I kind of love that that's how the scene goes. Of like, you have these intimidating ISB security like troops come in who are really cool and different, very different from the stormtroopers. And I like that it's a reference to like a role playing game from the 90s, I think. But Tony Gilroy's not a Star Wars fan. And you have all that build up and stuff, and then the minute that K2 steps into that hallway, it's like it's Jova. It's like it's so done. Like I just love that they were kind of like, yeah, no,
dude. When he used fucking
a heart,
the one guy
as a human shield,
as the fucking human shield, I was like, oh shit.
Oh, and
that
then
was
he's
sick.
Just throws the other guy against the wall. Cassian, I've cleared a path. He's so proud of himself in that moment. I love it. He's like a kid at that moment, like, oh, look what I've done for you.
And then they get out.
Yay! But again, that moment of Kleya and Cassian in the apartment, I thought was great, where she just reveals everything about the weapon to him, the importance of Jedha and Galen Erso and the like. But I just really the fact that like for how complicated Cassian and Luthen's dynamic has been, and how Luthen's rebels have viewed him in such this conflicted way. But the fact that like they will still risk their lives to go to Coruscant to what they think is to save him. But they were too late and he was dead already. But like that moment in the finale where Cassian goes to Will and was like, I have bad news, Luthen's dead. And just the hug they share. Because even though we don't see Will's scenes with Luthen, like you can tell that like he's like he viewed him as a mentor, and because obviously between that second and that third arc we really see Will go full deep into the rebellion, and I just thought that was a really great scene. But yeah, no, this escape was so good. The shootout that they have with the ISB troops, the way that stun blast was shot, where they just focus on it rolling into the apartment and that just completely knocking out Kleya, I thought was really, really cool. And
I was so scared. I was so scared in that moment that she had been killed. And again, it's so good because again, we had it's very Empire Strikes Back, these final two arcs, because we basically had the big, you'd expect almost like with most shows for there to be this big like blowout action scene at the end. But really that was the Gorman massacre, but essentially that we got last arc. This is very Empire, where it's like, it's a smaller, more intimate finale with basically the stakes basically revolving around the fate of one person, and that's Kleya. And I really like that because we've had so much of the theming of this series has been people who basically are going into this knowing that they're not coming out. They're not coming out at the end of this alive, that they will not see the sunrise. And I kind of like that Cassian in this last arc, he fights to prove that wrong. He fights for Kleya. Even while Kleya's getting really paranoid and she's basically trying to do the whole self-sacrifice thing and saying, oh no, you tell them, you go to Yavin, I'm not going there, basically. Oh no, it's going to be a prison. She's scoffing at it almost, the sanctuary of Yavin. And Cassian basically says, you need to see the place you helped build. I love the quiet optimism there of Cassian caring enough, like
I'm not
being
leaving.
compassionate.
I'm not leaving you here.
It is really good. And also, since we're talking about like the shootout and stuff, my theory about the Briar didn't come to pass. In fact, that viral tweet someone did basically came true. He just tripped and lost it. Like he just lost it. Like I couldn't believe like that was like, because I got to the end of the episode and I was like, wait, where was the Briar? And then I rewound it and I was like, whoa, he really just had to.
Yeah, I didn't even on my second watch, I was like trying to focus on, wait, when does he lose the pistol? And he didn't. I mean, he did, but I didn't catch it. But speaking of that, Rogue One hurts even more now, and obviously we'll talk about that further after. But the fact that prop consultant from Andor season 2 came out and said, I'm shocked no one pointed it out that like Bix's pistol from the second arc is the blaster that Cassian uses in Rogue One. I was like, Motherfucker!
Pain.
Stop it right now.
I hate Star Wars.
I hate Star Wars, man. It's fucking terrible.
You know what I
It's
also hate? Getting lost. And the only reason I say that is because I saw a fucking meme today where it was referencing the one.
I have no idea where I am.
Yeah,
I have no idea where I am.
that's the funniest shit ever because he's so confident when he says, "You have no idea where I am," and it's like, buddy,
Bro, you're on
we can
Jeddah.
see your location. Like,
So,
It's like, we know you're on Jeddah.
Uh-oh.
You have no idea where I am.
Nuh-uh. You don't know where I am.
nuh-uh. The fuck you mean, nuh-uh?
It's like, we're trying to help you. If only you fight as good as you lie.
My brother and I
Great
have been
Saw
having
line.
so much fun this week quoting Saw to each other, like back and forth. It's like, you know, he just
Shout out to Lynn's, her tweet. I like it went viral. Like, I saw it on like Instagram fan pages where it's like, oh, me trying to explore the Zepho. I have no idea where I am.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's how I saw
great.
it too. I was dying.
I was like, wait a minute. I know who that is. Love those moments there. To real quickly circle back, I just want to talk another shot that really got me in that Coruscant thing was when Melshi just walks right into the spotlight. And she's like, oh shit, and just walks back. And like, I know Melshi lives in the Rogue One, but I was like, hold on a sec, like, what's gonna happen here? But I am so glad Kleya made it out and that they've made it back to Yavin. And just, you know, the discontent that they have for Cassian continually just fucking leaving. And this scene
Draven, he's such a moody git, honestly.
Yeah.
like when they all walk in and K2 just like walks into the frame and just does the little wave.
Hello.
That just took me out. Yeah.
But that scene when Cassian speaks to the council, I thought was great.
Oh
it was freaking great.
Because like you really got to see like how much they actually don't like Luthen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those two fucking senators that show up.
Fucking Senator Jebel, man. That dude he just
fuck you guys. And then we get Admiral Radis.
Yeah.
We not only get Admiral Radis, but we also get the fucking guy who like shows up for like I want to say a grand total of like 5 minutes in Rogue One.
Weems.
And the guy who runs out. It's like, Senator.
Radis.
It was wild how much they don't like Luthen and his methods. And it's like, guys, we wouldn't fucking be here without him.
Exactly.
Like, what were you guys? You guys just showed up right at the end.
Cassian says that. He was like,
does anyone here aside from Senator Mothma actually know Luthen? Actually appreciate what he's done for the rebellion?
You've given a fraction to the rebellion than what he did. Just talking right to Pamlo and fucking Jebel. Which again, rewatching Rogue One, it fits so well because they are assholes in that movie.
They're like the Debbie Downers.
Thing that Jin says, I'm like, you know, for a rebellion, you really don't believe anything, right? Like, whereas
Radis is like the complete goat the whole way through. He just kind of is like willing to kind of like buy into this and stuff. But you know, since we brought up, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say the one dynamic from this that I really liked because I don't really notice it in Rogue One is the fact that Cassian and Bail do not like each other.
No.
I found the tension they had very compelling, and then I liked when he shows up again at Cassian's home right before he leaves, where K2's like, "The man you don't like is here," and then it's Bail in the window. I thought was great, but he is just very like, gotta follow the rules thing.
Dude, hats off to Benjamin Bratt, man.
We owe that man an apology.
Holy shit.
Dude is so good.
Dude was great in those scenes. You know, he kind of he struck a real good balance of like being distrusting of Luthen, but actually having reasonable like having good reasons for like being distrusting and actually kind of like, you know, making good points about how Luthen is kind of functioning. It's just a great little clash of like morals between the kind of more realistic side of the rebellion and the more idealistic side that we see in the original trilogy, you know, and I kind of like that you've got the different shades there. You've got Mon, who we know has that relationship with Luthen in the earlier seasons. And, you know, again, really cool seeing Genevieve O'Reilly for the final arc, even with the crash out pixie cut. But you know,
I kind of love the fit though.
Yeah, I like it. It's better than Rogue One. They've kind of like they kind of lightened the hair a lot more, but I just still think it's so funny that she's gone back to her. She goes back to the Andor cut for the Ahsoka season.
Yeah, she's like, all right, Empire's over. I'm getting my drip back, man. Like I need this.
Final note I'm going to say about the council, though, is that, you know, since we talked about Jebel and Pamlo, you know, I kind of noticed looking at them that they looked kind of familiar, really, like more familiar than I was expecting. So, yeah, this is our not our final episode of Who Watch, but it's our final episode for like the individual arcs. Because here's the thing, you know, there were a lot of Doctor Who actors who popped up in this episode, and there were too many, honestly, for me to fit into this one episode. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on these two and then punt the rest over to our series review that we're going to do sometime down the line. So we have a full list of like Who Watches for this season of Andor. But yeah, basically both of these actors have been in Doctor Who at different points. Jonathan Arris, who plays Senator Jebel, he appeared in the Christmas special for Doctor Who just last year for Ncuti Gatwa's season. He was a hotel manager in the episode Joy to the World, which had like a guest appearance from Nicola Coughlan as like from Bridgerton as like the guest companion that often shows up like for Doctor Who Christmas specials. There's always usually like a guest star as like the Doctor's companion for those Christmas specials. But the more interesting one is Senator Pamlo. She is played by Sharon Duncan Brewster, and I don't think I noted this for when she showed up in the Bad Batch, Andrew, like it's for season 2, but she has been in Doctor Who as well. She was in fact in the same episode as Joblin Sibtain, who played Brasso, which started the whole Who Watch thing off. Basically, we wouldn't have Who Watch if it wasn't for Brasso, but she was in the episode of David Tennant's series called The Waters of Mars, and I'm going to send you a picture, Andrew, of what her character looked like in that episode.
Oh, that's spooky.
Yeah, so that was an episode basically where the water on Mars basically possesses people and turns them into like zombies, essentially. It is kind of terrifying. Yeah, like definitely kind of a jump scare. And she was very, yeah, there it is. Like, yeah, like all the cracked mouth and stuff.
I don't like that one. I don't like that.
Like spoilers, that happens to Brasso's actor as well.
And no,
just as horrifying.
Not again. I'm still not over Brasso.
I'm still not over Brasso too, bud. But yeah, so this concludes our episode of Who Watch. Oh no, I have one more note about Senator Jebel. I can't believe I missed it, and that is he is actually also in Sherlock. He basically plays the one douchebag police officer who only exists for Sherlock to basically swat away and like condescend to. There's like a line where he tries to second guess Sherlock at something, and Sherlock says, "Oh, Anderson, don't talk out loud. You lower the IQ of the whole street."
This dude's just, I guess, used to playing assholes.
Oh, he's really good at it.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's really nice in real life, but he's very good at. He's definitely not missed his calling.
But I do love Mon's arc throughout this episode because we see her go and visit Vel, and she has that great line when she's talking and she brings up Cassian's information, and Vel is like, "Oh, do you want me to spy on him?" And she says, "I want you to help me believe," which I love. And I love the fact that, like, of course, Mon is the one member of the council that is the most willing to hear Cassian out because she knows Luthen the most out of all of them, and she has that there's that great moment Cassian says, like, "Oh, when was the last time you spoke to Luthen?" And he's like, "A year ago." And they're like, "A year?" He could have easily been compromised by that point. It's like, "Oh, when I rescued Senator Moffat from the Senate." And Organa goes, duly noted, which I thought was just a great little scene there. But then after this, Draven hears back from Tivik on Kafrene. They're like, oh, this is like the 6th time he's messaged us in a week, and they only want to talk to Cassian. So we get more hints of what's going to happen with him. And then we get another just a true farewell to the show and those that we've lost, which was Cassian and Vel's toast, which got me, man. I was not expecting when she was like Gorn, Terriman, I'm like Nemec, I'm like, fuck, no, we're bringing all the pain. And then when Cassian says Cinta and Vel says your mother, I was like, and then it started hitting me. I'm like, yeah, no, we are
so many people
to this show, and I got so sad.
Literally toasting all of the people who've fallen along the way. Man, it was like it was very
Aldani,
and then literally just when it caught the pain, we'd think the pain is like plateaued at that point. Then we start hearing Nemec's speech again, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
what? Why is this happening? Why, like I'm not opposed to it, but why is it happening? And then the reveal that it's part of Gaz listening to it, and like him basically saying, "Oh, it's everywhere now." I fucking love that.
What do you think
it's
that is?
So good. It's so good. Like at first I thought, oh, were they going to say that there's like a personal connection between Partagaz and Nemec? But it's better than that. It's literally showing how Nemec's manifesto of rebellion has spread throughout the galaxy. His concept of rebellion, it's so infectious almost that it's something that Partagaz just can't contain. And, again, this was something that really shocked me because I thought Partagaz would just sort of like quietly disappear out of the series.
He had his bigger fish moment.
I didn't expect him to shoot himself.
Yeah.
That was a massive surprise to me. But like when he put the blaster on the table, I was like, oh. And then it just kind of dawned on me of like, oh, of course, this was his foul up. This was his like big mistake, basically, because, him putting out that bulletin about Kleya being diseased was part of why they couldn't scramble enough troops to capture her. And that inadvertently led to Cassian and K2 and Melshi being able to snatch her out of the flat and get her out of Coruscant.
It's like, do I face the Emperor or do I kill myself?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And when you hear the blaster fire and the thud, and you just have that one officer just go like this to the stormtroopers.
It's like, nah.
I was like he had a feel, like he knew. He was like, yeah, he's gonna do it. But it was just like, again, one thing I was not expecting going into Andor was how much I ended up loving Partagaz as a character. Even though dude's a bastard, but dude is so good, and Anton Lesser is so good in this role that I was like. Whereas when Dedra got like bitched out, I was like, no, like you rotten hell queen. When Partagaz died, I was like, oh man, like I was a little upset, even though they're like on the same side. And but again, the fact that we get 2 of those, there's always a bigger fish moments in this finale with Partagaz and Dedra, and with Cyril in the last arc. And then, of course, it leads to Krennic and Rogue One, which I think is just great. But when Kleya like walks out of the infirmary and Vel finds her and helps her out, and they have that little moment together, and then her final shot is her waking up the next thing on Yavin and seeing that sunrise that Luthen could never see. I think is poetic.
Oh, it's so good.
I think someone mentioned like, oh, the Andor finale being about these women that were so close to the male protagonists that we followed in Luthen and Cassian, seeing that sunrise, whereas Luthen and Cassian were not able to live that, but seeing that moment with Bix at the end, and then seeing Kleya have this moment where she starts to realize that yes, she is among friends, because Velhet says, "Oh, I have friends everywhere. You're among friends now." Which again, it's another one of my new favorite Andor lines and Star Wars lines in general. Is so that good. I have friends everywhere. But this last moment, and you just see the sun just radiate on her face during that moment, and just a little bit of smile. I was just like, this is just a beautiful end to this character. And again, I don't, aside from Bix for my own personal wants and needs as a fan of the character, I don't think any other character is more like gift wrapped, like, hey, here's future story content than Kleya. Because like you could do a book, you could have her show up in one of the other shows. If they ever do a New Republic era set animated series, I could see they're throwing her in there too, like as like a recurring character. Like there are so many options you can have for this character. And again, this was someone that like, I think we all liked Kleya in season 1, but I don't think any of us really expect her to be like the breakout character of this season.
No, really, no. I'm so impressed with Elizabeth as like an actress. Like her dramatic presence is amazing, but also the vulnerability she's able to bring out, and the way she kind of conveys Kleya's trauma, almost like just like in those earlier scenes in the apartment, but also like when she's on the base and kind of like the way she almost kind of pathologically rejects being at Yavin, and it takes that kindness from Vel to like kind of thaw her out of it. And I just love that final shot, like you said, where she gets to see that sunrise and finally almost gets to let some love into her heart for like the first time in like who knows how long, like truly uninhibited from like the hate that she's had to like aim or like sharpen like a scalpel against the Empire. It's really good. It's just a great kind of counterbalance to the impending tragedy of like Cassian walking to his fate, which is just fine. Like
he's fine, nothing happens,
and he's watering the plants, man. Like we talked about the Bale scene, but like the bit where like him putting on his Rogue One outfit with the jacket and the blaster, like it's almost like a superhero outfit, was just like that whole scene started and I was like, oh god, we're here, this is it. This is it. And then him watering the plants and I was like, oh, he thinks he's coming back from this. And it just, everything about that adds to the tragedy of where he's going, but also kind of like the hope that he is gonna like bring to the galaxy. And I love that whole moment of him, the slow-mo of him walking to the U-Wing, and it interspersed with, like you said, all the different characters. Like you got Melshi doing the the drills with like all the different rebels.
Final montage
with Pow from Rogue One, which was cool. And then we get a like jump scare like Perrin appearance during that like
dude's
montage.
Got the crash out earring now with Davos Golden's wife,
which is like what. Like someone pointed out, he's with that woman, like he's pretty much like joined at the hip with that woman, like for a lot of the crowd scenes. So it's like, oh, okay, they were seeding that the whole time.
Which, let's talk about Perrin real quick, because something that didn't make it into this series that Tony Gilroy brought up is the fact that Don was right. He called this essentially, where Tony Gilroy said, yeah, we had a scene filmed where Perrin revealed that, he's been interrogated by the ISB weekly about Mon. And he never sold her out, never told her in. He knew everything that was going on. And the fact that, like, he could have been an ally, but Mon will never know that, is heartbreaking.
I kind of hope that I kind of want to, like, my headcanon is that the scene between them is like still canon, because like it definitely works if you like kind of consider his expression at the end of the episode, because like he's kind of continuing his life of like kind of decadence basically on Coruscant, but the look in his eye when he's in the speeder is very kind of hollow and dejected. You know, he's kind of very much you can feel him ruminating on his decisions, really. And if only maybe he had been a bit less enamored with this high life in Coruscant, if he'd maybe been a bit more open to his wife, that she could trust him, that he could have been an ally for her, then she would have trusted him with like helping her with the rebellion, and he wouldn't have been left to this hollow life of like excess on Coruscant. It's just it's very tragic. But you know, again, we could always get like another show that like focuses on this and maybe brings Perrin back. You know, maybe he could be like, because we've seen all the like kind of uppity ups in Coruscant. You know, there's still plenty of them by the Mandalorian. There's the people going like, oh, you know, New Republic, Empire. I can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Whatever. Sure, buddy.
Sure. Keep telling yourself that. But yeah, we get that shot of Melshi. We get Perrin on Coruscant. We have what we talked about earlier with Kleya, which again is just such a beautiful shot. Then we have Mon and Vel eating breakfast together. I love that little detail that Mon is not like above the other rebels, that she's eating with them and with Vel and showing herself as one of them, that she's not like up in her own ivory tower or anything like that. Like even on Yavin, like they're all together, which I loved.
I can't recommend the book Lost Stars enough. Like for anyone who hasn't read it, there's a great scene where Mon like comforts a soldier in the rebellion, one of the main characters of the story, and it was the kind of scene that made me go, "Oh, I actually kind of like Mon Mothma after this." So she's always been that kind of like empathetic figure towards like other rebel fighters. She doesn't think herself above it the way that the other senators do, and I agree with what you said earlier, Andrew. I'd love to see, like, I mean, Genevieve O'Reilly is amazing. Give her all the Emmys, but I'd love to see like her return in another show, maybe. And they've got to do something with Leia, because with all this stuff with Leader, if anyone's read The Princess and the Scoundrel, Mon and Leia have a really close like relationship, a very kind of surrogate mother-daughter relationship, and it would be great to see that reflected on screen, especially with all we've seen with Leader and Perrin. I'm really eager for more Mon Mothma, basically.
Yeah. They've made her into such a compelling character, which for a character that has existed since 1983, like the fact that it took this long is kind of astounding, but I'm so glad that they did it because she is tremendous in this show. But we don't just catch up on the heroes. We see Dedra, of course, in Narkina 2, which is just a great shot of her, like the slow zoom out revealing where she is. I was like, at first I was like, wait a minute, is that the prison uniform?
Yeah, dude, the second I saw the uniform, I was like, oh yeah, she's in prison, baby. Let's go. Not that. I didn't say that, but I was like, oh, she's in prison. Oh,
she just like breaks down, goes into the fetal position. I was like, oh, fucking hell. But
like,
then
you're gonna suffer, basically. It's
an
like
appropriate end to her character.
Then also the dual shots of Saw on Jeddah looking out and then going to the Death Star and looking at
no idea where I am.
No idea.
What are they doing over there? Are they taking all of the Jeddah cheese?
They're taking my Kyber. It was so great. And like, again, as Cassian's just slowly getting to that
Ritonia messed him up.
He messed them up, man. The power of Rido is...
She's my sister, Rido, and she loves me.
There's another edit. I saw rebellions are built on Rido. I was like, oh, God.
That's got to be a
Sign me
shirt.
up. Mm-hmm. Sign me up straight away.
Then, like, just the solemnness of the end as Cassian and K2 get in there. It's like, where are we going? Kafrene. It's like, rumors are that we actually have a flight pattern for once.
It's so much easier when I know what I'm doing. Like, Alan Tudyk, man. I love that dude. Great. He's been great. Like I've been waiting to see him like for the whole series, and yeah, he just didn't disappoint. He was fantastic the whole way through. Mm-hmm. Like, a little K2SO, it turns out, goes a very long way.
Very long way. But we see Cassian and the U-Wing fly off to Kafrene.
With the music like it's the Narkina music. It's the I can't switch. It's that My Name is Kino Loy track. Like the most transcendent bit of music in season 1, of course, plays like when that U-Wing takes off. I was just like, it's like the feels, and I was just kind of thinking, this is a great way of ending it. And then they cut to Mina Rao, and I saw B2 Emo.
We're like, He's alive!
I lost it. I was like, oh my God.
Very happy to see B2 again.
B2's
I was so happy.
He's got a girlfriend.
He's got a little girlfriend. And they're after the playing tag. That means I win. Oh. It's like,
it just pans over to the wheat fields, and then we see Bix with a child.
And
I was like,
which I will say, not a huge fan of.
Now, my dumbass had a Conor Chikiti moment where it tells the Underworld Conor was like, oh, yeah, Cad Bane and this random kid, like not putting the connection together.
I don't know. Todd, long story short, when I watched Tales of the Underworld, like before I saw like the close up of like of Laszlo, I completely just did not figure it out, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's Cad Bane." And then I was like, "Wait, but that kid is the same skin tone as Cad," and I'm pretty sure. And then I realized like pretty early, I'm like, "Okay, that's not Cad Bane yet. He just has the look of Cad Bane."
Like, I know Cad Bane as a son in those shorts. I've yet to watch them, unfortunately, but like, I'm fascinated to see how that's gonna like play out. But yeah, so Bix and Cassian, it turns out,
So,
have a child, and
my
that's like,
dumbass when I first saw this was like, oh, I don't like that. Like Bix, like already had a kid with someone else. That's wait.
oh
Yeah.
no.
You know, I'm just not a fan of it because, like, yeah, I guess the reason I think the reason I'm not a fan of it is because when I was talking with Amy, who's a friend of all of us, she crashed out heavily about Hera having a
Yeah,
kid. She's
yeah.
on the she obviously hasn't really talked about that because, you know, Star Wars fans, not the greatest people in the world.
Not the best people for dealing with nuanced conversation.
Yeah, not the best people. And so we've had this conversation. Well, mainly just me listening to her crash out about it. And so I'd seen these episodes before her, and I'm like, yeah, there's a thing you're gonna crash out about heavily. And she did. And so I guess it's just that whole thing of like single mother having to raise her dead lover's kid. It's just like, really? Like, I get it. It's supposed to be like, oh, you know, she's passing on to the next generation and everything. But at the same time, it's like, why are you going to burden her with this? Especially Bix of all people.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I'm of two minds in this situation. Because on one hand, there is the issue of, yes, if I have one complaint about this season, which there's not many, but if I have one complaint about this season, it's that Bix did feel a little bit sidelined at points.
Yeah.
And
totally.
whether that's an issue of them having to move this from 5 seasons to 2, or whether that's just them crafting her arc so that it's purposeful for Cassian rather than herself. And I think they balanced it out great with the fact that she made the decision to leave in the last arc. And that was her decision overall for the rebellion that led to Cassian really becoming this great hero. And I've seen people like be upset. Oh, they reduced her to being a mother, and that makes her less of a strong character. And I don't think that's true at all.
No.
And I think it's kind of actually stupid and offensive to say that being a mother automatically makes you less of a stronger, complete character. Like, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, like, again,
however,
you know, terrible way of like discoursing about it.
It is the issue of, oh, okay, so we ship her off world, and yes, the reveal of like, oh, well, she knew she was pregnant hits harder, and the fact that Cassian does have a son or a daughter, they haven't really specified what it is yet, out there. It hurts. Because we're like, oh, fuck. And, like, that is, like, the hope on the horizon. And I'm assuming these scenes take place before Scarif, maybe after. Like, I thought that, like, sunlight she was looking at, I was like, is that the Death Star blowing up?
That would be fucked.
Yeah.
That would be so fucked up.
I kind of feel like I'm also mixed about it, because it's like, I totally agree with you. I do think it's one of my problems with it that I think Bix got sidelined, but I do. There's part of me does feel like I wish she had more to do in the season, but I do like part of that ending. I kind of like the she's able to have she's able to live, she's able to have like a life and heal somewhat from the trauma. But I do kind of understand why that particular trope might rub some people up the wrong way, especially with how they've not really had enough time to kind of go into it. I don't think a female character becoming a mother is somehow makes her less strong or less powerful. That's obviously not true. It's nothing to do with that kind of thing. It's more to do with the fact that her role in the season has been somewhat kind of brief compared to how she was in season 1. Like, and given that the way earlier arcs did somewhat tease her to become more involved with Cassian and Luthen and Willman and all the kind of rebel missions they were doing, I would have liked to have seen that. And again, I think this is perhaps the biggest casualty besides K2 of like doing this as just 2 seasons, because Bix probably went on a lot of missions, contributed a lot more to the rebellion than just being kind of a stay-at-home kind of character like on Yavin. I think that kind of role for her as well during the Gorman arc kind of also contributes towards this being something of a double-edged sword narrative-wise. Like, I'm so glad she's alive, and if anything, her having a kid does somewhat mean that she has more of an opportunity to meet the Skeleton Crew kids. You know, that kind of would be a good pitch for season 2. Bix and her kid meet the Skeleton Crew kids. There it is, Lucasfilm.
There it is, Lucasfilm.
But you know, yeah, I'm kind of 2 minds about it.
It's funny you mentioned that, Don, because I texted that to Amy before episode 3 of this show.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it'd be really cool if she met the Skeleton Crew kids. I feel like that'd be a really cute adventure. And then episode 3 of the show happened, and I'm like, yeah, she needs this, man.
She needs children. That. Again, I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, I think the scene on its own is beautiful. It's a great ending to the series, but it's also like Bix's role in this season was trauma, healing, leaves, baby. And
trauma, healing, kills a fascist doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Healing, leaves.
Can't forget about that.
Baby.
Yep. So it's like,
yeah.
I just wish that her role in this last arc was more than just furthering Cassian's story. And I think, again, I've been pitching Colleen a Star Wars story for 3 years now. So I think this can be remedied by Bix showing up again in the future, which I think there's actually a very good chance that happens.
I really hope so.
But again, for someone who's my favorite character in the show is Bix, it's like, on one hand, I'm like, I do love this. But on the other hand, I'm like, I just wish that her role wasn't just carrying on the legacy of Cassian and Andor. It's like, I wanted more of Bix being Bix. And maybe an easy fix to this would have been, we see Bix with Cassian on one of those missions to Gorman.
Yeah.
Or we see Bix on a mission herself in that other arc or in another arc. And again, future stories can help, and fix is a weird word, but they can help change this or make it maybe feel a little bit better for people that aren't huge on it. Because I think, again, this is another situation where it's like, I think both opinions are right.
Like it's nuanced. There's merit to like both the criticism but also the narrative decision. You know, like typically I had this thought like after we finished recording like our last episode, but like the reason I do really love Bix's decision to leave the rebellion is because it very perfectly parallels what happens with Anakin in the prequels. You know, I voiced it on Twitter that, you know, like, you know, the Republic and the Jedi fall. You know, obviously there's a lot of other stuff that happens, but the critical thing that contributes to them falling is that one man, which is Anakin, he can't let go of the woman he loves. And Bix and the rebellion and the rebellion is ultimately going to win because Bix was able to kind of let go of the man that she loves and view the bigger picture. And it's like I do love how this series has subtly invoked the themes of not just the prequels and the original trilogy and even the sequels on occasion, but like just like the deeper themes of like the Force and stuff. Like that shot with the Force healer, like nodding at Cassian,
where they give the nod to each other. So good. But no, I just kind of crashed out in real time because I realized that this big scene is the alternate reality where Padme lives and gets to stay with the baby.
What are you going to do me like that, man?
Because it's the end of Andor, and I need to be. Again, I'm like, the thing I'm happy about the most is that she lived, like that we didn't have to. Because I would be more I think people would be more pissed if she died to further Cassian's development.
There is no way that she had to live, honestly, because there was no way, given all that she'd went through, for that not to feel trite and kind of reductive, really. Like I went into it last week, but I think the best decision was having her live. Like the structure of her role in the season is kind of an issue. And I think we'll get into that more when we talk on the series review kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, there is merit to like both sides of the argument here with Bix, and I kind of wish people would just be a little more nuanced about it online. But again, Star Wars Twitter not very good at hearing contrarian appearance.
Star Wars Twitter,
what the hell does that mean?
Twitter is where nuance goes to die, sadly. But it's the if only we could kind of have a conversation and recognize that you can criticize this kind of thing. It doesn't have to be so aggressively kind of binary in how you kind of approach it. Yes, it can be kind of iffy and something that doesn't work for you, but that also
only
doesn't
mean Sith deals in absolutes, even though that in and of itself is an absolute.
Dude,
I remember. Okay. Before we end this show, before we end it off, completely off topic. I remember there were fucking forums about that line from Revenge of the Sith.
Have you guys
wild?
Have you guys seen the Cassian stop motion Lego video where he has all these little Lego heroes talking and he has Lego Obi-Wan go, only a Sith deals in absolutes, and there's Lego Spider-Man there, and Spidey goes oh no, yeah, but what you just said is an absolute. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. That is an absolute. So by your own logic, you must be a Sith. I mean, hell, I must be a Sith because I think that's absolute bullshit.
I haven't seen that.
But Obi-Wan just turns to the side and goes, fucking teenagers.
It's just reminded me of late 2000s prequel discourse on the internet, and now I'm sad.
Anyway.
But before we get going, I do now want to turn this to Rogue One. And the fact that a few days after the finale dropped, I went back, I rewatched the last episode. And then immediately afterwards went right into Rogue One. And I just want to talk about how my thoughts on Rogue One have changed since Andor, what I noticed, things of that nature. First of all, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and say that this is the most rewarding watch of Rogue One I've ever had. I've had a detailed history with this movie. Where it first came out, I really liked it. Then I went through a phase where I didn't really like it at all. And then I came back around to it around the time Andor came back. And now it's up on my rankings again. I had to adjust my Star Wars rankings again because it moved up a spot. I think it's up to number 5 or 6 now. I'll have to double check. But like how the Clone Wars has forever changed how we view the prequels, Rogue One and Andor has forever changed how I view Rogue One. I think it's the perfect companion piece to this movie. Immediately when the Ring of Kafrene scene started, I was like, well, now that I know the details, and certain lines Cassian has in that scene where it's Jesus, did they write Andor immediately as they were writing this movie? It was just how did they know? And obviously calling back to that is great, and they knew what they were doing there, but what kind of weapon? What does it do? It's just because Cassian at that point, we know that he has some knowledge of it. And he's this is just a confirmation. And then just him having to shoot Tivik, I'm oh God, that hurts. And you see the look on his face too.
Yeah.
But
I think the way Cassian plays that, like the way Diego Luna plays that, all the way back in 2016, it really does lend some kind of nuance again. Curse word there, nuance, but to how Cassian is, because Cassian, as it turns out, was a lot more compassionate than we all gave him credit for. Kleya literally says to him, "You have to stop saving people." Yeah. So I think it still works, that whole scene of him having to ruthlessly gun down Tivik because it clearly hurts him afterwards, it pains him afterwards, and it really lends well to the plot line that he has with Jyn Erso and Galen and the mission he has. It's really fascinating. And again, not been a great time for discourse about Jyn Cassian, Bix Cassian, that kind of stuff.
Fuck that, by the way. Let people ship what they want to ship.
Let people ship what they want.
Strangely enough, even though I am just huge Bix Cassian shipper now, I also ship Jyn and Cassian. I watch this movie, I watch their scenes again, I'm like, yeah, no, I still feel the exact same way. It still works. Like Tony Gilroy was like, yeah, you're gonna have to readjust the context in which you watch Rogue One now and watch their scenes. I'm like, well, no, I don't, because obviously he's still thinking of Bix at certain points, and especially at the end, it hurts like a fucking truck. But it's like, yeah, of course he's what it is he's accepting someone into his life for the first time since Bix left him, and I think that is it's super impactful. And of course, him using Bix's blaster hurts so goddamn bad. But the two things, obviously, that have the biggest impact and meaning after Andor are his everything I did for the rebellion speech. And I think now is my favorite moment in the entire movie is the, suddenly the rebellion means something to you. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And then him, you're not the only one that lost everything. Some of us just decided to do something about it. The look on his face during that scene. It's like you could, how in the mid 2010s, it was a really popular thing to re-edit Obi-Wan's talk with Luke of your father, he was one hell of a pilot and he was a good friend, and splice that with the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith.
People are going to start probably doing
People are going to do that with this scene in Rogue One with Andor. Because
we're in for some killer
holy shit.
Andor Rogue One edits, boys.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna happen.
But it's not just Cassian, honestly, that I think their characters were enhanced by Andor, and it's
Krennic.
Krennic, definitely,
Krennic,
especially after this last arc, seeing him on the other end with Tarkin, and then you may fire when ready on Scarif. Oh my god. CGI Tarkin, by the way, still don't like it. But that's a story for another time.
Release the Guy Henry cuts.
But Chirrut and Baze's story and Bodhi's story, I think work so much better now. For characters that aren't in Andor, their stories and just the themes of their arc work so well with the show and other characters like Will and Vel and all these other characters that we've followed throughout Andor. Also, I put together a tweet. I was like, oh, here are off the top of my head my favorite performances in every Star Wars movie. And I changed my mind, and I changed my Rogue One to Felicity Jones. It was Riz Ahmed when I first put the tweet up, because he is so good as Bodhi in this movie. And again, that especially that scene where he's trying to contact Radis and on the ship, and then immediately the grenade pops, and I'm like, fuck.
Bodhi was my second favorite after K2, so that K2 really
obviously his death obviously hits like a truck, and then I think the biggest thing is it turns Melshi from a background character into, oh my god, that thing hurts so bad when the camera cuts and he's just dead there as Chirrut's about to do his heroic sacrifice.
Can I make it even more devastating? So Melshi is just one more person who Cassian doesn't get to say goodbye to.
Yeah,
I hate Star Wars, man.
Literally, every character that dies in this show, Cassian doesn't get to say goodbye.
Can we wrap this up? I don't want to talk about this pain no more, man.
What is this? This is almost like a High Republic episode.
I know.
God damn it.
What I will say though is I think now, obviously, when I watch Rogue One by itself, I'm gonna think of it differently. And I think any future rewatches of Andor I'm going to follow it up with a watch of Rogue One. Just to make it hurt even more at the end. But this week, Lucasfilm had a special fan screening at Lucasfilm HQ of the Andor finale directly into Rogue One. And I think next year for the 10th anniversary, they should do just that. And have this on the big screen of Andor finale into Rogue One. I think that's the essential way to view this movie now. I think the beauty of Star Wars is that we have things where movies that have been out for 10, 15, 20 years can regularly get enhanced by new additions to the franchise. I think is great. Yeah. And we've talked on and on about how the Clone Wars has done this for the prequels. We, of course, have created a podcast to do just that. Believe it or not, yes, this show was made to talk about the Clone Wars. You wouldn't know it by the fact that we haven't talked about the Clone Wars in over a year, but it was made to do just that.
And it maybe will be again.
This summer. No new show till October. It's a blessing in disguise for us.
We got a Clone Wars patch.
Exactly.
I'm going to agree with you about like the Obi-Wan, about the other shows, enhancing the movies and stuff. The Obi-Wan show does the same for A New Hope. The whole Leia Obi-Wan dynamic absolutely benefits A New Hope in a lot of ways. It just completely changed how I looked at that film. And I think I have yet to watch Rogue One, but I'm just so interested to see how my viewing of Andor impacts it.
And it also really reinforced the fact that Obi-Wan should have just killed the guy. Like, buddy, you had two chances to do it. I get why he couldn't.
Obi-Wan, I love you, but come on, dude.
It's like, dude. Dead. And this whole shit about the thing that cracks me up the most is the fact that Luke is like, but you told me he betrayed and murdered my father. And Obi-Wan's like, well, technically, he did.
Technically, he told me that.
Because he told me that straight to my face on this fucking rocky moon.
It's like the more time we spend talking about this, the more it kind of makes sense why Obi-Wan never appeared on Ankh-To. Luke just blocked him, and he was just like, "I'm not talking to you.
I'm ghosting you." The one last thing I want to say, I didn't even realize the pun there. The one last thing I'm going to say is, this is a sentence I never thought I would say about 3 weeks ago, but I had to mentally readjust to Jimmy Smits' Bail Organa in this movie. I was like, after seeing Benjamin Bratt, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Jimmy. And then the scene where speaking of Leia, where they talk about going back.
I would trust her with my life.
I would trust her with my life. I'm like, fuck, it hurts so bad. But it is such a good scene. And again, I highly recommend, if you haven't yet, watching the finale, going to watch Rogue One. If you ever had the question of how can we make the Scarif battle hurt more than it already does, you have your answer to that now.
Yes.
So go back and do that. I definitely recommend it. But this is where we come to an end for our Andor recaps. I cannot believe it. It is not the last we will be talking about Andor Season 2. We will be doing, at some point within the next couple weeks probably, our full Andor Season 2 discussion episode, where we will go back and we will talk about the whole season and the series in general. And this summer, I have something planned. We have talked about it behind the scenes, and I want to just soft announce it right now. So this is what we can expect this summer. Built on Hope, an Andor series round table, where us and then hopefully several Andor and Rogue One fans can talk together about the entire series and what it means to them. Sometime this summer, once we get into the planning stages, you should expect that, and that will be very fun to go back and talk about this entire show with a bunch of people. And I think it's going to be a great time. But gentlemen, this about does it. Any last thoughts on this finale before we head home?
Nope.
All right.
Basically, yeah, it was a very kind of emotional conclusion. It's definitely, as I said at the start, the one I've had to mull over the most, think about the most in terms of how it fits into everything. But overall, I just really liked it. All of the stuff with K2 was great. And yeah, I can't believe it's Andover.
I'm blocking you right now. But yes,
Nemec all over again.
No, not the secret crush. No, we made it so far.
I was good all season. I didn't make any bad jokes about people.
Yeah,
people getting
it hurt
killed.
Too much to make jokes about.
It hurt too much. I wouldn't dare make a joke about Brasso.
No, that's a crime against humanity right there. But anyways, Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning into our Andor recaps throughout the last month. It's been crazy having to talk about 3 episodes a week for the last month, but we did it. And thank you for staying with us. And it's been a fun time. Donovan, start us off. Where can everyone find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead. You can find me on TikTok at Donovan McComish, Instagram at Donovan_McComish. Same for Threads. And you can also find me on Blue Sky at DonovanMcComish.bsky.social. I am also, along with this dude right here, I'm a question writer for Star Wars Inner Galaxy Epic Confrontations, where different kind of Star Wars fan personalities go head-to-head over their knowledge of Star Wars trivia. And I
write Evil 5 pointers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he does. Believe him, he does. I have also written a Star Wars fan story, which I need to post the updated URL to. It's out there in the wild somewhere, but it's called Scars of War, and it's about like a clone trooper who deserts the Empire after Order 66 and crosses paths with a Jedi who survived that atrocity. If you like Star Wars and PTSD and emotional damage, kind of like the stuff we've been talking about on Andor, then maybe give it a look. It was a lot of fun to write.
Absolutely. Mr. Conor Chikiti, where can everyone find you as we continue the Bryce Harper Jedi Archives campaign?
The Bryce Harper campaign. Blue Sky, Depa Banana. Twitter, at Depa Banana, because I just reactivated because, well, I got to get the Bryce Harper votes in, man.
The Harper awakens.
Instagram, Conman JFO. I also podcast over at the Nerd Academy podcast, specifically our Star Wars section. I almost just tongue-tied myself there. Star Wars show, Knights of the Nerd Republic. You can find us there on YouTube. Oh God, I can never. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just at Nerd Academy Podcast. Just Google us. Find pretty much all our socials and episodes and where to find us. And then, like Don said, I write questions and co-host over at Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. You can find all of our past, present, and future matches over at the Star Wars in a Galaxy YouTube channel. We have some really good matches coming up. We've had some really good matches thus far that you can check out. And for our social medias, you can follow us at In a Galaxy Trivia on Twitter and maybe Blue Sky. I don't know. I don't pay attention. Yeah, I also wrote stories, but they haven't been published yet, and I'm working on refining one right now because I haven't read Phase 3 of the High Republic, and I need to for that.
Perfect.
That's all. Andrew.
All right. As for myself, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Starlight Andrew, Blue Sky as well, same username. You can find the podcast on Twitter at For the Repub Pod and on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at For the Republic Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are getting close to 100 before our 100th episode. I know we can hit it. Let's do that. Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. Anything to support the show is greatly appreciated. As for what is coming in the future, like I mentioned, we will have an Andor Season 2 discussion sometime within the next coming weeks, and then we will be going full bore back into the Clone Wars where we left off in Season 2. So that is the Bounty Hunters episode, the very Kurosawa-inspired episode of the Clone Wars. That'll be very fun to get back into what we started, and it's going to be a great time. So again, thank you so much for tuning in for our Andor coverage. We really appreciate it. And until next time, take care, and may the Force be with you.